so much for coming and talking with us today.
You're welcome, Evan.
I understand that you have adopted some children, and so that's what I'd like to talk to you about.
It's a small world after all.
First, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Okay. I was married for 14 years. I lost my husband to an infection after a kidney transplant. And when he died, I had two sons, one who was almost 8 and one who was 4.5. I'd always dreamt of having a little girl. And now no husband, no daughter. And I was also left with a great sum of money that I was uncomfortable having when I knew there were children around the world, that there were humans around the world that were in need of money. And so I put 2 and 2 together and started looking at adoption.
Had you ever thought about adopting before that?
Actually, my husband and I had talked about it because of his diabetes. We didn't want to necessarily pass on the genetic material that could cause diabetes.
Right.
And we actually put off having children for 7 years, hoping that science would advance enough that if our children were diabetic, they would have better care than my husband.
Right.
So yes. Yeah, and I had the experience of going to Spain in high school, and that really set my mind into, I'm not a citizen just of where I'm living, but I'm a citizen of the world. And with my upbringing, what it was, I felt it was my responsibility to help others where I could.
Right.
And to get back to the adoption, one of the ways that I could help and to satisfy my need for a daughter was to adopt a child. And as it turns out, being a single mother limited the countries that I could adopt from.
Oh, so other countries, some countries say if you're a single person, you cannot.
Right.
Okay.
I have a wonderful mother.
Okay, you must have a wonderful mother.
Yes. I have a wonderful mother who would babysit. Yeah.
So your mom has been a major support for you, because in terms of being a single mom, I mean, whether you've got adopted children, whether you've got 1 child or 10 children, a single mom is a very hard thing to be.
It is.
And you have to have that support system.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also had my father until 2 years ago.
Okay.
And he was my handy-dandy maintenance man, and he was such a good grandfather to the children. He would let them experiment with tools, and he would take them to the park and that kind of thing.
Great.
So.
Great.
Small world after all, it's a small.
Well, let's talk for just a minute. You're talking about the budget. And it certainly is expensive to be a parent. Children cost a lot of money. And so I think that when you talk about the budget, you're not talking about the budget to pay to the agency to bring a child into your life. Of course, that's part of it. But you're thinking long term, right? You're thinking of being able to provide for this child, not today only, but into her future, for a college, for marriage, for grandchildren, and all these things.
Exactly. Yeah. The statistics came out just a few weeks ago on what it costs to raise a child, and I just didn't want to look because it multiplied. I have 8 children. Right. And there's a 15-year gap between the youngest and the oldest. And perhaps you're wondering why I have this red car.
Yeah, I kind of wondered. It's a nice looking toy?
It is a toy. It's a scale model of a 1948 Chevy Aero sedan Fleetline. Right now, since 2002, I have driven a white 15-passenger van. This is my dream car.
Uh-huh. Your whole family won't fit in that car.
No. This car, I would love to have one. I could have bought one. I could have bought 6. But money does buy things. This is a thing. It's a thing I would like to have had. But in order to bring those children home, lawyer fees had to be paid. Visa fees had to be paid. Foster mothers deserved to be paid for taking care of them. Right. And in China, the orphanage certainly had operating expenses. And so instead of buying 6 luxury sedans, I now get to hug 6 luxury humans.
It's a
was one of the places that does, or did at that point, allow for single mother adoptions. And I was pretty much guaranteed a daughter. There are some boys that are in the orphanages, but I sure enough was given my daughter. She came to me on the end of May in 1999.
Okay, and what's her name?
Her name is Bethany Joy.
And you named her?
I did.
Did she have a Chinese name before?
She does. Yes, her name is Wei. No, it was one of these things where I woke up one day knowing I would have a daughter and her name would be Bethany. And I had chosen Grace as her middle name, but I woke up one morning very close to when I would receive her referral and knew Grace was the wrong name, that it needed to be Joy.
Right.
And it turns out Bethany's Chinese name means great happiness. She's from Hunan province and was found early morning near a vegetable market.
So her birth mother or father or parents dropped her off and left her.
And left her.
Okay.
In China, it's illegal to abandon a child, and so it is often done at dawn when they know the child will be found right away.
Oh, okay.
After Bethany, well, when I was growing up, I had a brother 3 years older than me, and then one 7 years younger. And my older brother and I were playmates. I didn't know my little brother so much, particularly because I went off to college then. And I had a 6-year gap between my youngest biological child and Bethany. I didn't want that disconnect for her. And so I looked at Bethany. She was around 3, and I said, what would you want in a sibling? And she said, well, somebody that looks like me. And in listening to the news, I had noticed that there was a severe drought in Guatemala. And so I checked, and Guatemala, again, was a country that would accept single mothers with children to adopt. And I contacted an agency, and within a couple of weeks, I had a couple of pictures of 2 little boys.
That you knew would be yours.
That I knew would be mine.
2. You were looking for 1, you got 2.
I was looking for 2. Yes, I was looking for 1, and I got 2. Take your heart away.
Right.
And knowing they don't have parents, and knowing I could provide, and knowing it was a no-brainer for me.
It's a world of laughter, a world of tears.
And around Christmas of 2001, I received another phone call from the adoption agency. We have a 3-year-old girl. Would you be interested? So I now have 2 daughters.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
1 Guatemalan and 1 Chinese. And to this day, people think they're twins.
Interesting. So they're about the same age.
They are 9 months apart.
Do you think they look alike at all?
Only in the fact that they have dark hair, dark eyes.
Right, so not at all.
No. And she did want to keep her middle name, which is Noemi, Spanish for Naomi, and Naomi in Hebrew means joy.
Oh, wonderful.
So the girls
Perfect.
have the same middle name.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Though the mountains divide and the oceans are one.
The last 2.
The last 2 are both boys. One actually was in process for 3 years. He got stuck in some Guatemalan turmoil. There were some difficulties. His mother would disappear every once in a while. In Guatemala, the birth mother has 3 chances to say, I changed my mind.
Right, to make sure.
To make sure. Right. I needed her to be sure.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
I didn't want her to have any question in her mind. So his adoption took 3 years. And in the process, another phone call at Christmas time.
You can't say no at Christmas
No,
time.
you can't say no at Christmas time. I went and visited him, and I gave him the name Matthias. Matthias was the last disciple. He was going to be my last child. I knew I could. I had been given permission by the U.S. government to adopt a total of 6, and he was number 6.
So they're in the same grade,
They
and
are in the
Bethany and
same
Aggie
grade.
are in the same grade.
And Bethany and Aggie are in the same grade. And my children, starting out, were Kenneth and Timothy, and they both had the theta, the TH. Bethany also does. So I wanted to give them a name that also had a TH, and so they became Ethan and Thaddeus.
Okay.
It's a small world after all.
Well, I have a question for you then about having children from different national birthplaces, and then raising them in Muncie, Indiana. What kinds of experiences have you had, or what kinds of experiences do you think the children have had in terms of being from another country, belonging to an American family?
Muncie has a checkered past as far as brown.
That's a good term, a checkered past.
Checkered past, right, because the black and the white.
Right.
But we have, through our 11 years here in Muncie, hopefully demonstrated that the color of one's skin does not determine the character
Right.
of one's
Right.
personality and things.
It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all.
Well, one of the things that often gets overlooked, and it goes back to that checkered past, not only in Muncie but in America, is that when my children are with me, they receive the same benefits that I as a white woman do. When they are not with me, they are no longer white. They are who they are. You are Hispanic.
That's how people will view you.
Right. They might expect you to speak Spanish, and they might start off speaking Spanish with you. And you as a child, you as a growing adult, need to be able to understand that expectation and be confident enough to say, I was born somewhere else, but I am 100% American, and I have chosen English
Right.
as my
Boy,
language.
that's a hard lesson for a child to learn, but
It
it
is.
sounds like you've got a good handle on it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It's a world of hopes and a world of fears. There's so much that we share.
And some very brave families in other places made very brave decisions, and probably very heartbreaking decisions, to help bring my children home.
After